Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salam alaikum. I'm addressing S6 students, applied linguistics, error analysis. The proponents of error analysis point out that the contrastive analysis hypothesis pays attention only to predicting what the learner will do and does not pay any attention to the study of what the learner actually does. Contrastive analysis hypothesis claims that when a learner is learning a new language, when somebody is learning a new language, he will be transferring, he will be bringing over the rules from his L1 into the learning situation, into the new learning situation. And so if the rules he's transferring, he or she is transferring, happen to be the same in the new language, in the L2, then that's called positive transfer, and that's good, and that will enhance and speed up and help the learning process. But if on the other hand, the rules he or she is transferring, is bringing over from his L1, happen to be different in the L2, then that's called negative transfer or interference, and that will result in the making of errors. They also claim, meaning proponents of error analysis claim, that many errors do not result from native language interference, but rather from the strategies employed by the learner in the acquisition of the target language, and also from mutual interference of items within the target language. Contrastive analysis claims that all the errors that learners make are because of the influence, because of the interference of the mother tongue. Of course, evidence has shown that not all the errors that we make are because of our mother tongue. Many errors do not result from native language interference, but rather from the strategies employed by the learner in the acquisition of the target language. The learner, when he or she is learning a new language, he or she is using strategies to learn. For example, I'm learning English, and my teacher says to me, I watched. You add ed to the verb to form the past tense. I watched, I decided, I started. Me, as a learner, as an active learner, I use a strategy. I'm like, okay, so if I have the verb to go, I add ed to it. So I say, I goed. It's a strategy. I goed. This sense, I goed. Yesterday I goed instead of I went, happens to be not correct, but it's not because of interference from the mother tongue, but because of strategies I'm using as a learner of English, and because of interference of items within the target language. Here, because of English itself, I'm overgeneralizing the rule of ed. The suffix ed, to express the past tense, we put it with some verbs, but we don't put it with all the verbs in English. If you put it with all the verbs in English, that will result in overgeneralizing the use of ed, and that will be an error. That will be an error with many verbs. Error analysis provides support to Chomsky's theory of language acquisition. Chomsky's view is that language acquisition is not a product of habit formation, but rather of rote formation. The learner, just as the child who is acquiring his or her L1 is active and creative, and here I refer you to the video on the innate theory by this theory that was suggested by Chomsky. The child is active. In the same way, a learner of L2 is not passive, but he or she is active, and he or she forms rules of his own. Forms rules of his own that sometimes are correct, sometimes are not correct, but the main thing is that he or she does not only transfer rules from his L1. The view of learners from error analysis perspective differs vastly from the view of learners from contrastive analysis hypothesis perspective. From contrastive analysis perspective, errors are the result of the intrusion, interference of the first language habits over which the learner had no control. From an error analysis perspective, the learner is no longer seen to be a passive recipient of the target language input, but rather plays an active role, processing input, generating hypotheses, testing and refining them, etc. So, for contrastive or in contrastive analysis, learners are passive, are controlled by their mother tongue. They're under. Learners of an L2 are under. They stay under the influence of the rules of their L1, and so they are passive. They are passive. Whereas in error analysis, learners are active. They can form rules. They can test rules. They're active. They can create their own rules. They are not just like bringing over and transferring rules from their L1. السلام عليكم. بارك الله فيكم.